Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Freda and I'm the creator of My Burnt Orange. I really appreciate you watching. Tonight we are going to cook one of my most requested recipes, Biltong Risotto.
And for this we are combining arboreal rice, biltong and pumpkin to make a delightful dish.
Tonight we are going to cook one of my most requested recipes. It's actually one I wrote on my blog several years ago, and it has taken this long for me to put up a YouTube channel. The recipe is none other than Biltong Risotto. So guys, risotto, and I hope I'm not wrong, but it is an Italian rice dish made with this special kind of rice that's quite thick and starchy. It creates almost like a porridge when you cook it. And I don't usually find it in Lagos, but I managed to find this one called, well, it's called Grand Risotto. And in trying to find out whether I could cook it the same way as risotto rice, I had to try and read Italian. Here goes. Risotto con chiori di carciofi e gamberi. Well, that's just they have an artichoke and prawns recipe, but I think the only thing I can manage to really read in Italian is olio extravergine di olive. What do you think? Before I break somebody's language, let's get cooking. Hubby's almost home and I'm getting hungry.
So my recipe calls for 50 grams of butter, and you want to use a nice heavy based pan. And guys, let me warn you now, risotto is a labor of love. Just going to pour in 1 tablespoon of olive oil as well. And the first thing we're going to do is fry the onions until they're a little bit translucent, using a medium heat. You don't want the onions or the butter to burn. If you have white onions, just for aesthetic reasons, that's the preferred thing to use, because the dish we're making is mainly white and orange, so the purple bits might look funny in it, but it's going to taste really good. So don't worry about it too much. So let's add in the rice. Here's a closer look. Nice thick grains. And my recipe also calls for garlic, so I'm gonna put the garlic in at the same time as the rice, just so that it doesn't burn. Stir the rice and the garlic until the rice becomes translucent. It doesn't take too long for it to happen. Now the next step in this is to introduce moisture gradually. And what we're using today is chicken stock. A lot of risotto recipes call for white wine. We don't have any today, but a few drops of lemon juice, or today we're using just 1 teaspoon of white wine vinegar, just to add a bit of a sour note, and that will be fine. So here I am, I'm going to add my little drop of white wine vinegar. Woo! And that is deglazing the pan. And now I'm going to ladle in our stock, a little at a time. And what you want to do is adopt this continuous stirring motion. Continuous stirring motion. What that's going to do is activate all the starches to get our creamy risotto going. There you go. We've had a couple of ladles. And we have a few bits of onion that have managed to get quite charred. Don't worry too much. This is home cooking. All you need to remember is to cook this on a medium heat and be patient. Okay, let's just add more of the stock. And pretty soon, just to allow it to cook well, I'm going to add the butternut. Now, you may be wondering what inspired this dish. You know what, it was, so many years ago, maybe 2011, that I was a part of a writing group of bloggers called we wrote at Africa on the blog, and we were contributing to the Guardian Africa network. And I wrote a ce soir recipe, and then I wrote a biltong stew recipe. That's my darling daughter playing in the background. I wrote a biltong stew recipe. And you know, I was on a roll with biltong. I had just managed to find a whole load of it at a good price in London. And I think it's important to mention the price because biltong's a bit of a luxury in some places. So I don't know if you'd want to actually be buying it just to use in a dish rather than having it on its own. It's entirely up to you. But I managed to get a whole lot of biltong for a very good price, and I needed to do something with all of it. So I made biltong stew, and then I decided, well, let's have a go at making biltong risotto. And how I did it was, I simply followed the cooking instructions on the back of the pack. And I think most risottos are standard. You will often start with 300 grams of rice, 300 to 350 grams of rice, about 1.5 liters of liquid. A lot of this is made up with wine, water or stock. So that's how I got going with my recipe. So now I'm gonna add some butternut. This smells so good. And you know, if you're wondering about which type of squash to use, butternut, it's sturdy, it's flavorsome, it's nutty. That is what I recommend. You can use pumpkin if you really like it, but it mashes up a lot. So I use butternut. And it's widely available here in Lagos. So for those of you wondering if you're going to waste away at the stove, yes, it takes a bit of patience, but we'll be done in about 20 minutes. Doesn't take long. You know what? I think I might try this recipe using, I know Ina Garten, you know, she's a famous celebrity chef. She has a risotto recipe where it's kind of quick. I think she stirs the living daylights out of it on the stove and then leaves it to steam naturally. So the secret is in the stirring, you know. And I think maybe if I want to hurry up along, I could do the same. Just gonna add a bit more liquid, more than I would normally add at a time. And now we're going to give it a big and rigorous stir. Right, it's been about 5 minutes since our last addition. Well, maybe 7. Because my recipe does say after 5 minutes add in the biltong. But you know what, biltong, it doesn't need much cooking, but I do want to get it in there early enough to infuse some of the flavor of the naturally cured meat. So I'm gonna add some, that's biltong for you, those of you who don't know. I'm gonna add some and reserve the best pieces for garnishing. So let's just add half of it. Ooh, look at the fat. Just cook with your eyes closed, guys. But listen, if you are fat conscious, just slice off the fatty piece. Like that. Like that. You don't need it. Okay, I'm going to put in my last ladle. And in an ideal world, I'll be serving this as soon as it's ready because we don't want the rice to overcook and absorb all the liquid and become dry and clumpy. But nobody ever shows up to the dinner table on time, do they? So what I'm going to do is, it's still al dente, it's almost cooked. I'm going to switch it off now. NEPA has taken light. But thank goodness for my spotlight. So I'm going to just take it off the heat right now. And then I have a little bit of the liquid here that I'm going to reserve so that when it is time to dish, I'll flick it on for 5 more minutes, pour in the rest of the liquid, and then it's ready to go. Last but not least, you're going to add a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese. You could try goat's cheese too, whatever you fancy.